Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today we're on the website of Shares, the French auction portal, and we're back once again with another Vichy Auctions catalogue here. So if you've seen one of the recent videos, you'll see that there's been 2 days of plucked instruments and kind of world music and other things like that that the Vichy Auctions are doing. I did a video a few days ago now, which was for the catalogue on the 4th of November, which had loads of guitars and interesting things like that. And now we're looking at the catalogue for the 5th of November, which also seems to have a load of interesting kind of guitars, hurdy-gurdies and other things like that, and wind instruments and brass. So that should be quite cool to look at. Looks like there's a few less items in this sale than the other one. There's 305 in this one. I think there was near 370 or so for the other auction. Buyer's premium for this auction is 24%. That's what you pay on top of the hammer price. This is obviously another French auction, so if you are outside of France, if you're in the rest of Europe or anywhere else in the world, bear that in mind with kind of shipping fees, import, export, and any CITES kind of regulations, all of that stuff. You can see all the conditions here. As there's still quite a few lots, I think we should probably just get on with it really and have a look. I do think this one's going to be fairly interesting, so I'm excited to see what we have here. So let's begin. I think this is also the better auction than the other one. I think this is the higher level stuff. So got a French tenor banjo here, made in Paris around 1930 by Clavero, 200 to 250 euros there. A Neapolitan mandolin by Luigi Ricci, 1901, 2 to 300 euros here, fairly standard but interesting enough. Piccolo banjo, bluegrass Anglo-Saxon, made around 1890, 3 to 500 there. We've got a plectrum banjo here, tenor banjo by Ludwig, 2 to 300. This is an interesting one here. 18th century Neapolitan mandolin by Gio Battista Fabricatore, 1789, whose label it bears. 1200 to 1500 euros. This is very nice. Not as kind of crazy ornate as some of them get, but you can see the quality in the workmanship of this and the nice kind of bowl back there. Very nice instrument that. If I had the money and the means, it would definitely be something that I would be interested in, because I do like a nice mandolin. Now we have a tenor banjo from 1913, Orpheum one, 2 to 300 there. We've got bluegrass banjo from Leon and Healy, Chicago, 3 to 400. Nice American banjo. Got a bluegrass banjo, Anglo-Saxon, around 1890 again, 3 to 400 there. Here's a Russian bandura made around 1892. It's possibly a little bit controversial listing there, because some people will say this is a Ukrainian instrument, but maybe we shouldn't go into that territory at the moment. But 2 to 300 euros on that. The precursor to that instrument is the torban, which is very interesting. It's a bit like a theorbo. The bandura not so interesting, but still curious. Kind of zither type thing, as you could see. Here we have an exceptional Neapolitan mandolin by Antonio Vernaccia, made in Naples, 1771, bearing the label 12 to 15,000. This is almost the pinnacle of mandolins here. This is absolutely beautiful, really nicely made, fantastic. This is really fine example. As I think I've said before in some of my other videos, Vernaccia family also made violins as well, but the mandolins are very incredible. I won't kind of read into everything here because it's quite long-winded, but you can kind of read it down here on the side here. But this is a very beautiful example of a Neapolitan mandolin. If you look at the workmanship there, very nice. Lots of tortoiseshell though, so you'll be at the mercy of the CITES kind of restrictions, but that is a high level mandolin from probably one of the finest kind of makers there is. So beautiful. Another banjo here, bluegrass one. English or American, 300 to 400 euros. They're saying an astonishing Neapolitan style mandolone made in Catania by F. Ciroli around 1890, 800 to 1000. This not so exciting to me, I must just say. And it's a rare 4-string contrabass banjo, 500 to 600 there. A violin with deep kind of sound holes, F holes, by J.C. Letellier from 1925. Interesting. 500 to 700 is the estimate. That's pretty unusual, to say the least, but good to see. Here's a viola d'amore made around 1900, 1000 to 1200. Interesting looking thing. Kind of blindfolded head, which seems quite common for those type of instruments. Here's an 18th century pochette. I think we've seen a few of these recently in a few different auctions. Looks nice enough, 500 to 700. There's a quinton by Andrea Castiglieri, second half of the 18th century. The French like these instruments in the 18th century, 2,000 to 2,500 there. Sometimes see some of these kind of messed around with a bit. A viola overcoat by Jean Bourgard luthier, made in Nancy around 1800. Old restorations to the head, 400 to 600. Interesting looking instrument. 400 to 600, definitely curious. And a pochette made around 1900, 1200 to 1500 on that. Funky looking thing. I'm sure that'll be popular with someone. French viol by Bertrand, made in 1730, 1200 to 1500 there. Restoration in 1954, fairly plain looking, 12 to 1500. 19th century German violin or viol, the sculpted head, 200 to 300. That is a fairly kind of trade instrument of not the greatest quality. Probably Italian viol from the 17th century, labelled Dio and Francisco Fratelli de Grancini in Contrada Larga Milano, 1697. Interesting, 1500 to 1800. That's a curious looking instrument, an interesting head. There's some interesting instruments which appear on these Vichy auctions, so it's definitely worth looking at the catalogues here. It's another quinton here. Some restorations, 500 to 700. So the French really the main creators of these quintons. An English cittern or English guitar with keyboard and 6 choirs, first half of the 19th century, 1200 to 1500. That's interesting that we've got the key mechanism on the English guitars. I think we recently saw a German kind of, this is obviously a cittern, but they called it the English guitar. But we saw an actual German guitar with a key mechanism as well. Key mechanism a bit more common on these type of instruments from what I recall. But interesting nevertheless. French viola d'amore, 18th century there. Labels saying Reinhard Stork, 1200 to 1500. This head not blindfolded. Ukulele with double soundboard in the Geller style double top there, 200 to 300. I'm sure that'll be popular. There's a lot of ukulele collectors. Another quinton here, 18th century F. Fury, Saint Germain, 2 to 2,500. That's an interesting head on that one. Looks like a kind of wizard or something. That's pretty curious. 2 to 2.5. Lute guitar repaired by Layanti in 1906. 5 to 700. Same parts of it, 19th century. Slightly odd there. Worth investigating maybe. 5 to 700. Lyre guitar with columns made around 1810 in the style of Petit Jean. Interesting. Characteristics close to that kept at the Philharmonie Museum of Music in Paris, 1500 to 1800. I'm sure this will be popular as well. There's a lot of people that do collect these kind of lyre guitars. Needs a bit of work, as I think a lot of them do, but interesting looking example. This seems to be, I think, like an arch cittern, theorbode kind of cittern, Renault and Chatelaine. Looks like kind of 18th century there, 1200 to 1500. Obviously needs some kind of work there. You don't see those too often, so that's interesting to see that as well. Here's an Egyptian oud with the label Les Filles de Gamule Georges Auxerre, 1970, 500 to 700 there. So you can see it's probably the picture, yeah, the picture of the maker, as I saw in another video. This is very common on actual kind of decent-ish quality ouds. Will often have the picture of the maker inside. Here's a viola d'amore, they're saying here, a bass version. The first half of the 19th century with a Guadagnini label there, 2 to 2,500 euros the estimate. It's a big crack there at the back. Interesting head there. That's got the blindfolded head. I think that's all the pictures we're going to get there. Instrument from Eastern Europe. That's curious. That's an interesting one. 7 to 900. Kind of, yeah, like theorbode guitar transformed into that in 1900. Quite a staggering wood choice there. Very interesting. Another English cittern here, made around 1900. Different types of tuner here, 250 to 350 euros. That seems like a fairly good price for one of these. Viola da Gamba labelled Joseph Lask, Prague, 1799, 2,000 to 2,500 there. Interesting looking instrument. An Estrella brand Mexican Guitarrone, 400 to 600 euros there. Another kind of arch sitting there, Renault and Chatelaine, 18th century, 4 to 5,000 there. Lovely looking instrument there. Very interesting auction so far. Here's a Casimiro Lozano guitar there, 1997, classical, 800 to 1,000 euros. Guitar by Francesco Guadagnini with the original label, made in Turin, 1500 to 1800. Member of the famous violin making family there. Hippolyte Collin transition guitar, made in Mirecourt circa 1800, 1000 to 1200 there. Nice enough looking, needs some restoration. Spanish classical guitar, made in Madrid, 1909, bearing the label of Jose Ramirez, probably sold by Ramirez's workshop. 2,500 to 3,000 there. Classical guitar by Telesforo Julve, brand Excelsior, 4 to 500 euros there. Seems potentially a bit expensive. Tricone style guitar, National, 2 to 2,500. These always have a good market. Classical guitar by Jose Ramirez, made in Madrid in 1969, 1500 to 2000 there. Jazz guitar with large sound hole there, label of Jose Gonzalez, 4 to 600. Nice choice of wood for the back. Spanish classical guitar, label of Jose Ramirez, 1000 to 1200 there. Romantic guitar, made in the workshop of JTL around 1860s. This is fairly standard type, 3 to 350 euros. Guitar inspired by a vihuela, made by Carlos Perez Non-Class around 1970, 800 to 1000. We saw some instruments by this maker in the other Vichy auction. And some more instruments here. Classical guitar made by Carlos Perez Non-Class around 1970, 800 to 1000. Another Hawaiian guitar by the same maker. I think there was another Hawaiian guitar in the other auction, 4 to 500. Romantic guitar made around 1810, attributed to Pons, 3.5 to 4,000. Looks like a nice solid guitar in fairly good state. Guitar inspired by vihuela again, from the Jacques Martin Andre Museum by Carlos Perez Non-Clas. So this maker really liked vihuelas. It's actually, this is a very nice looking one actually. Nice rosette work. 800 to 1,000 there. And a Gibson branded Les Paul Standard with double cutaway, 800 to 1,000 euros. A Baroque guitar, second half of the 18th century by Aubert in Troyes, 2.5 to 3,000 there. So it needs a bit of work, but nice looking instrument. Good project for someone. That could be a nice instrument there. So definitely an interesting lot. It's had some woodworm, I think you can see. Another classical guitar from Carlos Perez Non-Clas, 800 to 1,000 euros there. A romantic guitar by René Lecotte, 1824, 12 to 15,000. We're at the one of the top makers of the romantic period there, Lecotte. Solid body electric guitar from Ibanez, S series, 2 to 300. Hawaiian acoustic guitar from Epiphone, Navarro model, 800 to 1,200. Romantic guitar by Charles Maurice Cabasa, 1,500 to 1,800. Miracle around 1830. This is kind of the interesting, kind of almost shield type of guitar. I think in Germany they're called like a Wappen guitar, I think. Vox branded guitar, made in Italy, circa 1970, 2 to 300 there. Hawaiian tricone resonator, 1930s, 1,200 to 1,500. Terz guitar there, Viennese style, mid-19th century, 5 to 600. Vox hollow body electric guitar, acoustic model, Italy, 1970, 4 to 500. Rare acoustic guitar by Gibson, model HD20, 2 to 2,500 there. So definitely looks a bit curious. Egmont brand solid body electric guitar, made around 1960, 2 to 300. Jazz guitar, Jacques Favino, 5 to 6,000. These jazz guitars are quite popular. The jazz guitar by Antoine de Moro, 1,500 to 2,000 on that. A jumbo folk acoustic by Anton Jurowski, made in Vienna, 1936, 1,500 to 1,800. Interesting looking one. Another Baroque guitar here by Cesar Pons, 2.5 to 3,000. This one also in need of some work. Dobro branded resonator there from 1970s, 4 to 600. Bronson Honolulu Deluxe Hawaiian guitar from 1938, 1,500 to 2,000. Epiphone guitar model Zenith, 2 to 300. Transformed into a tenor guitar. Double instrument guitar and quattro made by Gilberto Mendez, Cuba, 1999, 2 to 300. It's interesting. Gretsch brand hollow body guitar, anniversary 6125 model, 1,500 to 1,800. And then classical guitar, absolute jumbo massive format by Ernst Stieber, 2 to 300. That is absolutely huge. Hawaiian guitar by Selma Macaferi, around 1932, 5 to 6,000. These Selma Macaferi instruments super valuable. Vega plectrum neck tenor guitar made in the USA, 2 to 300. Romantic guitar by Petit-Jean Lane, 5 to 700. This one not quite so exciting, needing a little bit of work. Martin folk acoustic guitar D18, 1,500 to 2,000. A Cara CT tenor guitar made in Genoa, 1939, 2 to 300. Selma 7-string guitar made in 1936, Hawaiian model, 2 to 3. Archtop jazz guitar by Peterson, circa 1950, 2 to 3,000 there. Romantic Coffey guitar from 1840, 500 to 700. Needs a fair bit of restoration. Interesting looking bridge on that one there. Solid body electric guitar brand Gibson, 2 to 2,500. An Oahu brand Hawaiian guitar made in Cleveland, 2 to 300. Solid body electric guitar brand Fender from 1963 there, 8 to 10,000. So I expect we'll probably see not too many pictures on that. The neck looks really nice, quite interesting. So there you go. A Swedish guitar harp with 10 strings made around 1900. Perfect playing condition apparently, 6 to 800. A Stellar Harmony 12-string folk acoustic guitar, 2 to 300. Romantic guitar by Cabasa Wisner, 5 to 700. Needs some work. An acoustic guitar made in style of a Chamberlain cello in Leicester, UK, 1935, 800 to 1,000. Oh, that's pretty curious. Gibson archtop guitar model ES175, 4 to 5,000. Popular model. Martin tenor guitar model 117P, 1,000 to 1,200 there. Jazz guitar by Demora, 1,000 to 1,200. And a National Resophonic brand guitar, Estrelita, made in the USA, 1,500 to 2,000. Interesting finish on that one. A Josette brand romantic guitar, 500 to 700 euros. Interesting. Selma brand jazz guitar from 1948, 13 to 15,000 euros. So this is the pinnacle of the kind of Selma, or close to the pinnacle of the Selma jazz guitar that people really want. So this is the big money ticket. Classical guitar by Di Giorgio there, 3 to 500, Brazil, 1959. Hohner hollow body electric guitar, President model, made around 1960, 3 to 500. Selmer brand guitar, classical model, made 1942, 2 to 3,000. Jazz hollow body guitar by Jacques Favino, made in Paris around 1950, 5 to 700. Solid body electric guitar by Fender, made in the USA around 1980, 800 to 1,000 on that. Another romantic guitar by Aldrich, Paris 1921, 600 to 800 there. Nice wood choice. Hohner brand archtop jazz guitar, 2 to 300. Resonator guitar, original Palm Guitars model, Amsterdam, 3 to 500. Tipple Hawaiian, bearing the label O Hawaii, highest grade, 2 to 300. Romantic guitar made in Mirco around 1820 by Petit Jean, 1000 to 1200. It's quite nice edge work there. Romantic guitar work in the Italian style there, bearing the label of Ernst Liebig, 1825, 2 to 300. Interesting looking headstock. Martin brand tenor guitar, made in the USA 1944, 700 to 800. A Chenor Hamburg brand acoustic, style of a Gibson Double O, 700 to 900. Tricone square neck palm guitar, Amsterdam, in the style of National, 3 to 400. Guitar by Karl Muller, Augsburg, around 1906, 600 to 800. Electroacoustic resonator guitar, brand Del Vecchio, Sao Paulo, Brazil, 3 to 400. Tricone resonator guitar, left-handed cutaway model, 5 to 600. Baldwin solid body electric guitar there, 4 to 600, made in England around 1966. Jazz guitar, Mirco around 1940, 400 to 500. One of the Gibson harp guitars, 3 to 4,000 there, from 1909. You do see these every now and then for sale. Viennese style guitar, Legnani model by Haver Kirchensteiner, around 1900, 300 to 500 euros. Interesting funky outline, quite like that. Lap steel with 3 necks of 8 strings, Fender String Master there, 1000 to 1200. Beautiful oud from the first half of the 20th century, 500 to 700. That is actually quite a tasteful, well-made looking oud. Bowed stringed instrument with eagle's head, 100 to 150. That is pretty bonkers, but yet interesting. Instrument with 6 bowed strings. Inscription on the back, Lodi P1714, 100 to 150. Kind of folk art instruments. That's pretty cool looking. And it's a low ocarina by Mazzetti in terracotta, 100 to 120 there. Round hurdy-gurdy by Francois Fury, 1500 to 1800 there. An exceptional hurdy-gurdy made by Ouvra in Paris, 3 to 4,000. This is definitely more interesting than some of the other hurdy-gurdies we saw in the other auction, and the work there on the head is very detailed. So that's an interesting looking one. Round hurdy-gurdy by Pimpar, 1200 to 1500 there. Another Pimpar round hurdy-gurdy. 600 to 700 on that one. Another hurdy-gurdy by Tixier, 1200 to 1500 there. Another round hurdy-gurdy by Peugeot, 600 to 700. Interesting hurdy-gurdy with a volute head, 1500 to 800, a flat back model on that one. Round hurdy-gurdy from Pimpard, 800 to 1000. Another hurdy-gurdy by Nigu, 700 to 800. Interesting hurdy-gurdy, cool with columns, perhaps by Desjardins, mid 18th century, 2 to 2,500. That is a really interesting looking hurdy-gurdy, actually. One of the most interesting ones I've seen. Interesting kind of work here, the details, the stamping. Look, reminds me a bit of some of the work of Jean-Baptiste Deschaix-Solomon and stuff coming out of his workshop in the same period. Just this kind of stamping, almost pressing on the wood of kind of little bits of flowers and stuff. Interesting instrument, that one. That's one of the most interesting looking hurdy-gurdies that I've seen, I think. Contemporary hurdy-gurdy there, 400 to 500. It's an interesting one here, flat back one by Jean-Nicolas Jaumier, 1200 to 1500 there. Hurdy-gurdy made in a copy of P. Louveau, probably from Pimpar, 1200 to 1500. And we're on to some pipes here. Cabaret, complete in A in ebony by Marcel Albert and Jean Marginier, 2,500 to 3,000 there. Looks like tidy work. Cornemuse Bechon, complete and probably by Charbonnier, 200 to 250. A complete cabaret in boxwood, 500 to 600 by Joseph Roules. Cabaret foot in ebony from Costa Rost, 400 to 500. And Cabaret complete in Amaret in B by Joseph Roules, 500 to 600. Oh, that's amazing. Cabaret head in the shape of a feline, 300 to 400 euros, but that's actually really quite cool. That's a very cool looking item. Grelotier, 8 tuned bells, belong to Marcel Margenier, 150 to 200. Cabaret stand in C, René Rouquet, 150 to 200. Cabaret stand in ebony, Albert Margenier, 300 to 400. Cabaret foot in boxwood, Joseph Roules, 100 to 150. Cabaret foot in tinted boxwood by Lucien Destans, 150 to 200. Cabaret stand in boxwood in C sharp, Joseph Roules, 150 to 200. Cabaret stand in boxwood in C, Joseph Roules, 150 to 200. Another cabaret stand in boxwood in B flat, Joseph Roules, 150 to 200. The cabaret in boxwood in C, Joseph Roules, 150 to 200 on that. Another cabaret there, Joseph Roules, 150 to 200. Another cabaret by Joseph Roules, 150 to 200. Prototype cabaret foot in boxwood, Joseph Roules, 50 to 80. And cabaret stand in tinted holly in C, Joseph Roules, 150 to 200. Cabaret stand in boxwood by Joseph Rules, 150 to 200. And Galician gaiter for children, board on slide broken, 200 to 250. Now we're on to something else. A diatonic bandoneon by Alfred Arnold, 300 to 400. A spectacular chromatic accordion from Coupe Armonish, Vercelli, Italy, having belonged to Carlo de Barba, 500 to 600 euros. An accordion from Marzella in Paris that belonged to Jacques Pollard, 3 to 400. I mean, I'm not very well versed on kind of accordion players, so I don't really know who these people are, but I'm sure they're very famous. Chromatic accordion from Delesia, 100 to 150. Chromatic accordion by Cavagnolo, 1500 to 1800. That's a beautiful looking instrument. Chromatic accordion from Coupe Armonish, 2 to 250 there. Pia Maria chromatic accordion, 300 to 350. Chromatic accordion by Antonio Ranco, 5 to 600. Accordion by Fratelli Crosio, made around 1950, 3 to 400. And then Organina by JTL, 5 to 600. Another Organina by JTL, 250 to 300. Mechanical piano Amelotti in Nice, 7 to 800. Travel harmonium by Debain, 150 on that. 19th century harp there, 1200 to 1500. Neoclassical harp with 41 strings by Erard. This is another Erard harp, 1200 to 1500. We saw one in the Irish auction quite recently. Another neoclassical harp there by Naderman, 6 to 800. Another harp here, Fabricia de Arpa y Guitarra de Valois Rojas, 100 to 200 on that one. Schimmel upright piano there, 200 to 250. Here is some kind of music and kind of books here. Book on the viol, Annette Otterstedt. That's a good book on the history of the viol, actually. Some catalogues of the collection of the Royal Northern College of Music, which I've not actually been able to visit as yet, and then some other books as well. Now it looks like we're on to other instruments. Ivory flute there, probably English, 18th century, 3.5 to 4,000 there. With a case, interesting. Grenadier flute with cylindrical bore, Toulouse, Paris, 1,000 to 1,200. Silver plated flute, Boehm system by Selmer, 200 to 250. Grenadier flute there by Ruddle Rose Cart, 3 to 350. Conical flute in Grenadier, German one, unsigned, 6 to 700. Flute in Blackwood, Ivory Head, 2 to 250. CITES restrictions on that. Silver flute by Stamped Boehm and Mendler Munchen, 5 to 6,000. So this is a serious flute there. Grenadier flute there, stamped Blackman, 200 to 250. And then flute stamped Lebret, 4 to 500. Flute stamped Godefroy, 5 to 600 there. Grenadier flute there, stamped A. Fisher Bremen, 3 to 350. Then let's move on to the fifth page there. So silver plated flute there, stamped Lewis Lott, 1500 to 2000 there. Grenadier flute with cylindrical bore, F. Barbier, 300 to 350. Grenadier flute Clinton model, Clinton & Co, 4 to 500. Silver flute model 1851, cart system, Ruddle Rose and Cart, 5 to 600. The Grenadier flute there, Margaritat, 200. Grenadier flute with cylindrical bore, Bohm system, Mendler Munchen, 4 to 4,500. As you've probably noticed, I'm not too au fait with wind instruments, so please feel free to comment if I've missed anything really obvious, which is probably happens all the time. Conical flute in Grenadier by E. de Breuil, 300 to 350. Ebony flute, ivory rings there, A.U. Bodell, Stockholm, 5 to 600. Flute in silver metal, Lewis Lott, 6 to 800. Silver flute, Bohm system, stamped Selma, 3 to 400. Flute in boxwood, stamped on all bodies except the barrel, VNN, so 1500 to 2000 on that. Interesting. Silver flute there, stamped Selma, 300 to 350. Grenadier flute there, stamped Buffet, 5 to 600. Silver flute, stamped F. Barbier, Kuzner and C, 800 to 1000. Flute in silver plated metal, stamped Alfred Badger, New York, 3 to 350 there. Grenadier flute there with cylindrical bores, stamped Claire Godefroy, 2 to 3. Grenadier flute, stamped Boozy & Co, 3 to 350. Left-handed boxwood flute, stamped Goulding d'Almain & Co, Soho Square, 5 to 600. Silver flute by Lewis Lott, 800 to 1000. Piccolo and Grenadier stamped Ledasque. Grenadier flute there, stamped de Breuil, 3 to 400. So a lot of flutes in this auction. Silver flute, stamped Lewis Lott, 2.5 to 3,000 there. Silver flute, stamped LeBlanc, 300 to 500 there. Another Grenadier flute, stamped Hill Late Monzani, 5 to 600. Grenadier flute there, stamped Earl Duret, 800 to 900. Silver flute, stamped Buffet Crampon, 350 to 400. The silver flute there, stamped Lewis Lott, 1500 to 2000. Boxwood flute there, brass key, stamped Prosa, made in London, late 18th century, 500 to 600. Silver flute, stamped C. Reeve, Paris, a Robert SR, around 1900, 800 to 1000. Silver flute there by Lewis Lott, 1000 to 1200 there. Ebony flute there with ivory rings, Tribert in Paris, 5 to 600. Grenadier flute with conical bore by Claire Godefroy Aine, 2 to 2.5. Ebony flute, stamped V. Lund, Copenhagen, 4 to 500. Silver plated flute there. Roddle Rose and Cart, 1500 to 1800. Grenadier flute there. Lewis Lott, 1500 to 1800. Silver flute by Sankyo, 5 to 600. Boxwood flute there. Headstock Grieve in Mannheim, 2 to 2,500 there. Silver plated flute, Born Julot. System stamped Jalma Juliot, 6 to 700. Piccolo flute in blackened wood, stamped Rudolf Grave, 800 to 1,000. Piccolo flute in boxwood, 4 ivory rings, stamped Berthold and Thibouville, 200 to 250. Boxwood piccolo flute there, stamped Wainwright, 300 to 350. Ebony piccolo flute there, Klein and Koln, circa 1800, 4 to 500. Ebony piccolo flute with ivory head, Karl Gottlob Schulster, 200 to 250. Piccolo flute in Grenadier, 6 ivory rings, stamped Prudent in Paris, 4 to 500. Piccolo flute in ebony. Trying to see if there's no particular name on that. 200 to 250. I've kind of lost my way a bit. Actually, I've completely lost where I am. I think that was where it was, and it's a piccolo flute and grenadier there. Stamped Lewis Lott, 400 to 450. I might have potentially missed one there. Let's kind of hope. No, I think that was the one. I'm getting lost in flutes now. Boxwood piccolo flute there, stamped P. Piano Milano, 600. Grenadier piccolo flute there, stamped Pierre Godefroy, 300. Clarinet in fruitwood, imitation branch, 5 wooden keys. That's actually really interesting. 4 to 5,000. That is really quite curious. That might make a good image for this auction. I think we should do some wind instruments for a change. 4 to 5,000 euros. A lot of flutes in this auction, but I think we're away from the flute section now. B flat clarinet, stamped Pedler Elkhart, 150 to 200. B flat clarinet boxwood, stamped P. Piano Milano, 4 to 500. Clarinet there, T. Prouse, 4 to 500. Boxwood clarinet there, Buffet Crampon, 2 to 300. Cane clarinet in carved and decorated fruitwood and ivory, stamped on all Aman bodies, 5 to 6,000. Wow, that's super interesting as well. So this maker is pretty unique then. Clarinet here by H.C. Stumpel, 300 to 350. Ebonite clarinet in C. Boehm system, 300 to 350. Clarinet B in boxwood, 4 ivory rings, Monzani & Co, 400 to 450. Boxwood clarinet, stamped Tabard, 300 to 350. Clarinet in C, Jazz Wood and Son, 4 to 500. Clarinet in A, C. Geipel, Breslau, 300 to 350. And boxwood oboe there, Johann Sterler, Vienne, 2.5 to 3,000. Nice looking instrument. And a wavy boxwood oboe, stamped O Moaning Leipzig, 200 to 250. Grenadier oboe Heckel system, 600 to 700. Boxwood oboe, 9 brass keys, stamped Tribert, 1000 to 1500. Ebony oboe there, stamped Malern Javelier, 250 to 350. Ebony oboe there, stamped R.W. Keith, Cheapside, London, 2 to 2,500 there. Oboe in Grenadier, stamped Cabar, Paris, 3 to 400. Oboe in stained wood, stamped Kuzda, 1000 to 1200. Boxwood oboe, stamped Johann George, 1500 to 1800. Grenadier oboe there, stamped Buffet Crampon, 300 to 350. Boxwood oboe, stamped Sattler, Leipzig, 2 to 2.5. Some really interesting oboes, I think, in this auction. Grenadier oboe, stamped Tribert, 500 to 600. Boxwood oboe, stamped Cavalier, 1500 to 1800 there. Boxwood oboe there, stamped K. Bauer, 1500 to 1800. Grenadier oboe, 4 ivory rings by Heinrich Franz Eduard Pinder, 6 to 700. The tinted boxwood oboe, stamped Cavalier, 1500 to 2000. And a German bassoon, stamped V. Kohler, 200 to 250. Maple bassoon here. And the Young Marseille yoke, apparently. Interesting. 1000 to 1500. Small maple bassoon there, stamped Tribert, 400 to 450. Bassoon small branch in Grenadier, stamped Gautreau Marquette, 4 to 500. 19th century bassoon, French in maple by stamped with Savary Pear, dated 1825, 800 to 1000 euros. Curved soprano saxophone by Selma, 3.5 to 4,000. These are quite popular. We've got some saxophone mouthpieces there, 200 to 250. Some other mouthpieces there, 6 to 700. Then we've got a soprano saxophone brass, Adelphi Sax 50, 1000 to 1200. Soprano saxophone in pink by Dolnet, 3 to 350. Alto saxophone in silver metal by Selma, 4 to 4,500. Alto saxophone in brushed metal by Andreu Frères, 2 to 300. Some more saxophone mouthpieces there. Alto saxophone in silver metal, stamped Selma, 2 to 2,500. Another kind of set of mouthpieces there. And alto saxophone in silver metal by Selma, 3.5 to 4,000 there. Silver plated alto saxophone stamped Boist, 300 to 350. Varnished brass alto saxophone stamped Selma, 1200 to 1500. Silver plated saxophone alto saxophone stamped Selma, 2 to 2.5. Alto saxophone in silvered brass stamped LeBlanc, 7 to 800. Alto saxophone in silver metal by Selma, 3 to 3,500 there. And going on to the next page here, we've got a few more things to go. Alto saxophone nickel plated metal by Selma, 800 to 1,000. Silver plated alto saxophone stamped Selma, 2 to 2.5. Tenor saxophone in varnished brass by Selma, 4.5 to 5,000. Silver plated tenor saxophone, Adelphi sax, 500 is the estimate. Tenor saxophone in varnished brass by Buffet Crampon, 1,000 to 1,200. There's a cornet with Stoessel pistons with staggered screws by Vichy for 300 to 400 there. Whole load of mouthpieces there. Cornet with 2 Stoessel valves and a Perinet valve, 1,600 to 1,800. Trumpet in C/B flat in silver metal stamped Selma. Small flugelhorn in E flat with 3 Perinet screw valves, 200 to 250. C B trumpet stamped Henri Selma, 250 to 300. Another lot of mouthpieces there. 3 trumpets stamped Selma, 400 to 450 there. Varying kind of tarnishes. A 6 valve trombone in silver plated metal stamped L. Percy Le Triomphe, 2051, 1,000 to 1,200. This actually might make a really good picture for the video, so maybe we'll have to go to that instead. Slide trombone in varnished brass stamped Antoine Courtois, 200 to 250. And we've got a hunting horn in D stamped Francois Perinet, 800 to 1,200. Looks quite nice. And an E flat contrabass tuba with 3 barrels stamped Hersbrunner, 1939. Well, there you have it. That is the entirety of the auction. Really interesting catalogue actually across everything, with some really interesting plucked instruments, interesting kind of brass woodwind stuff as well, and other bits in between, interesting guitars. This has actually been really quite an interesting auction, I have to say. So I'll put a link in the description, check it out yourself, it's definitely worth doing. So some pretty cool stuff here. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. Many thanks for tuning in to the Musical Instrument Investigator. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please like, subscribe and turn on notifications, and watch out for the next video coming soon.